Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Good Gamers Podcast 8-Bit Banter. Let's talk video games. So, to kick us off, one of the things that, as a man living in Australia, I am rather perturbed by is Hotline Miami 2 being refused classification here. Now, what have you guys heard about the reason behind this? Have you read up on it at all? Or?
I know the reason, just a little bit. Not entirely the whole thing.
What is the reason? Come on, tell the viewers.
It's implied rape, isn't it?
Yeah, it's implied rape.
Implied, not even actual rape. Implied.
The thing with it, though, and this is the truth, right? Like, I fucking hate the Australian Classification Board. All right, like this country is the fucking bunt of every single fucking joke about censorship. We're a country in which the word cunt is used like a comma in casual conversation. Right? It's a place in which we get like crazy motherfuckers on TV swearing their heads off. Yet apparently, a pixelated game is too offensive for one of the most offensive countries on the planet. I don't fucking get it. Like, I thought we were a level-headed society. But look, right, basically, the reason why this was banned, this is the Australian Classification Board statement, alright? After stomping on the head of a fifth male character, he strikes a female character wearing red underwear. She is knocked to the floor and is viewed lying face down in a pool of copious blood. I'm quoting this verbatim, right? The use of the word copious is theirs. The male character is viewed with his pants halfway down, particularly exposing his buttocks. He is viewed pinning the female down by the arms and lying on top of her, thrusting, implicitly raping her either rear entry or anally, while her legs are viewed kicking as she struggles beneath him. This visual depiction of implied sexual violence is emphasised by being mid-screen with a red backdrop of pulsating and the remainder of the screen being surrounded by black, right? Now, straight away after that, it cuts to the fact that it's actually a false scene, and it's actually a sort of movie set that's done this. So, context doesn't matter to them, which is fine, at the end of the day, and these guys are there. But these useless cunts that only seem to exist to fill seats in a fucking auditorium and piss off gamers. I mean, this is the thing. What are they doing by refusing to classify this? People can already see the scene online. Devolver have put it on the internet there. They've actually called out the classification board on their bullshit, right? Devolver's response was this. We are concerned and disappointed that a board of professionals tasked with evaluating and judging games fairly and honestly would stretch the facts to such a degree and issue a report that describes specific thrusting actions that are not simply present in the sequence in question and incorrectly portrays what was presented for them to review. Now, they also delivered a video on that to show to readers that it's true. We're going to play this for you now. So we'll kick it off. And I'm going to pause it here to start off with. Right, if you notice, the very sort of like a Call of Duty no Russian style, immediately the player has the opportunity to choose yes or no. Alright, so, it's got a sort of trigger warning.
This reminds me of when Modern Warfare 2 had that...
Yeah, as I said, a very no Russian sort of way. Like the thing that didn't...
If you legitimately are offended, you can skip it.
Yeah.
Exactly, yeah.
So So it gives players a choice if they are going to be triggered by this sort of thing. I hate that term, but yeah, they can skip it if they wish. Now, first thing I'm going to mention, that fucking soundtrack though. So it begins with a Galaxy film, which is probably irking the idea that it's on a movie set, which you'll see by the end of this.
Midnight Animal? Jesus Christ.
Midnight Animal.
It's the 80s all over again.
Right.
Oh yeah, it's the 80s all over again. I love Hotline Miami. The first one was fantastic. It's drenched in neon. So there you go, stomping on a dude's face. There's the sort of pig butcher. Kill a guy. It's how, Hotline Miami has always been, pretty much, just with a different sort of protagonist. Here we go, this is the scene in question. He knocks to the floor. Pause it there. Did you yourself see any thrusting actions?
I did not. In fact, I would say the implied rape scene, it definitely was a rape scene, but it's a half of a second that it's seen. The way you described it made it seem like it was 10 seconds, half a minute. By the way they described it, it's a second within a game.
It's not only that,
ridiculous.
It's also all about context, because like Moosh was saying, this is on a film set, and I mean, we've definitely seen films that have tackled worse things in terms of rape and all that other stuff, and those still get released in Australia. I mean, there are films out there that do some pretty fucked up shit and still get released overseas. And here we have a video game that barely even really touches on it, and they're freaking out about it.
Well, it's not only that, though. This altercation takes place in a cutscene, so essentially it's like watching a video or a movie. One of the biggest and most popular shows here, especially when you look at torrenting, is Game of Thrones. Full of rape, right?
Exactly,
Like, you look at Daenerys Targaryen, you know. So it's okay for other mediums to do this, and other sort of, you know, like, big stories to do this, but the second you have it in a video game, everyone fucking loses their fucking minds and jumps around, you know, and tries to ban it and cut it down. It's ridiculous.
It's like how Australia's Target and, was it Kmart, banned GTA
It was
5?
Kmart and Target, yeah,
Yeah.
GTA 5. Well, I'm honest, yeah, it was because they depicted violence against women and stuff, but I'm very critical in terms of how many of those signatures were actually from citizens in Australia. And I'll be totally honest on that, because there's no... I could sign that if I was in England, for instance. And at the end of the day, this is different. This is worse, because this is an official board of the government pretty much completely telling utter bullshit regarding a scene. And you can see from the way that, you know, Hotline Miami do it themselves, that, well, the developers themselves and, you know, Devolver that are publishing it. I like, honestly, good on fucking Devolver for standing by their developer, because, you know, obviously it's a controversial scene, and doing something like that takes balls, but standing up, like when shit like that happens... I mean, we've had people like Valve and stuff when they had Left 4 Dead 2 banned, sorry. Like, they always get like neutral responses or neutered responses, like, you know, oh, we were surprised to hear the news of this yesterday. You know, obviously everyone at Valve's pretty bummed. It would be a shame if folks in Australia or anywhere else were able to purchase Left 4 Dead 2 because of a ratings issue. Things like that they've come out with and said. Whereas Devolver, good on them for doing this, is just pointing to them and saying, you're bullshitting. You are spouting shit. You can't do that.
I'm curious on, because I'm not too familiar with the way that Australia does their classifications and whatnot. If it's refused classification, does that mean that it's like full on banned, like you can't buy it in Australia, or does that just mean that they can't stock it?
People can reappeal for the ban to be lifted, which Devolver are probably going to do, or in the case of what we more usually see, a neutered version of the game will come out. Okay. Now we're going to play the second half of the Hotline Miami 2 video, which is if the player chooses, yes, I do not want to see this scene, which is most likely the version that we're going to get in Australia. The whole, we can't see the scene by default. So, again, we're going through, kill this guy, kill the guy, knock the girl out, stand over her menacingly, and then he says cut. That's the only difference, right? So that's literally going to be the neutered version. So it's not going to be like as bad as Modern Warfare 2 was, which it was a game that was released censor-free in Australia, interestingly enough. But yeah, we can't have someone, you know, in some sort of act. Now, obviously, in terms of gameplay, it doesn't cut down on the level, which is fine for me. But they have to reappeal again, and I'm sick of getting a neutered experience compared to other countries around the world. Look at South Park Sick of Truth.
That kind of goes into the hypocrisy or whatever of classifications and ratings in general, because when you look at Modern Warfare 2, right, with the no Russian level, there you have a level where the player is actively murdering hundreds of people, innocent people, on top of that. And sure, there's a couple of guards or whatever, but you're killing hundreds of innocent people. And that was all fine and dandy in Australia. And then we have a scene in Hotline Miami 2 where for half a second it's implied that sexual violence occurs, which is very bad as well, but is not on the level of killing hundreds of innocent people. And that's a problem. How does that make any sense?
Well, it's not only things like that as well. Yeah, one of the things that they talk about quite often is like games have been banned initially and then reappealed because the violence isn't really that realistic. It's over the top. That's fine. Like, it's such a strange fucking classification board, but I'll be honest. You can call me a revolutionary or something, but I believe firmly that a government of a country, in terms of media and entertainment, that your artwork, they have no right in stipulating what I can and cannot watch, or what I can and cannot consume. Now, and I feel really fucking bad for Devolver, or especially for the developer. I remember reading about this scene before, and they were on about considering changing their stance on this scene. And this was back in 2013. Like, I've been hyped about this game for a long time. More about its soundtrack than the actual game. I fucking love Hotline Miami 1, but I fucking exercise on a daily basis listening to the soundtrack of the first game. It's fucking great. And it's one of the things, like, when they do this sort of shit, they're not getting rid of it. It's all over the internet now, this scene, right? People can easily watch it. And not only that, though, but, like, with games like South Park, I can just simply type into YouTube, banned scene in South Park Stick of Truth, and I can see the anal probe scene, I can see the abortion scene, I can see all the stuff that they cut, and that's totally fine.
Well, here's the thing that is really hypocritical. If that South Park game was instead a movie, I bet in Australia there would be no censors on it.
That actually makes me wonder, is a Serbian film banned in Australia? I'm honestly curious about that, because a Serbian film has a scene at the end of the movie where the main character rapes his own son. And if that isn't banned in Australia, it's a pretty graphic scene too, then this makes no fucking sense.
The film is currently banned in Australia.
God damn it.
But
Okay.
you can actually watch it in its entirety on YouTube. We're now going to play you that scene. No. That we're going to have to draw the line out, I'm afraid.
I don't understand why people, when we see things in movies or in television or in books even, like rape and murder and all these other graphic things, people throw such a fit, yet at the same time, no one gives a shit if it's a movie. Like, I remember, and it's not that great of a movie, but Aliens vs. Predator 2, they kill a kid in that movie. I don't know if anyone remembers that scene.
Yeah.
But, like, this kid gets a face hugger on him, and then it, like, zooms in on the kid, and he has, like, a chest thing.
Chest burster.
Yeah, thank you. Pop out of his chest, and then that's in the scene. I don't remember anyone saying a thing. Ever.
So to be fair, just to kind of play devil's advocate on this, I will say that something occurring in video games can be a little bit worse because the player is actively engaging in it rather than just being a viewer. They become a participant instead. But at the same time, it's a piece of entertainment, and that's all it is. You still are removed. Like, for instance, if you play Hotline Miami 2, it's all pixelated. There's a level of removal that you have from that because it's pixelated. So it's not like you can feel like you're actually there. You know that it's a game.
Yeah, but a video game has just about as much effect on you as your imagination does when it comes to fantasy. I mean, a lot of people have fantasies of things that they would not play out in society as it is. That's a normal thing that's discussed in psychology. People have violent thoughts or sexual thoughts like that they would not play on in real life.
Oh, no, no doubt.
Let's
No doubt.
really proper analyze that, though, like the whole devil's advocate side of it. There's a difference between, like, when in this scene, bringing it back to Hotline Miami 2, it's a cutscene. Therefore, you, as the player, don't have to press up and down or W and S repeatedly to insert and exert yourself from the woman, right? There's nothing like that. However, in games like GTA and stuff like that, in which you can act out these fantasies and whatever, it's all down to player agency. Now, this happens in a cutscene, therefore, for me, it is like watching I don't know, like an episode of South Park or another cartoon at a really low resolution that's been then stretched up to a big screen. Like, that's the way I see it, personally. And this is the thing, from a guy that fucking adored Hotline Miami 1, and I've played through it countless fucking times. It's a game that I'd like to try and even speedrun. It's brilliant. It's an absolute fucking joy to play. And the fact that I'm going to get a neutered version of it, it's kind of depressing, to say the least. Like, at the end of the day, at least it's not going to cut out a gigantic amount of gameplay, but that's even if they choose to resubmit it for classification with that scene taken out. And if that's the case, then, it'll be alright for Devolver, because they're going to stick to their guns, and I respect that, but this is a developer that I want to support, because I fucking love the games he makes. Hotline Miami 1 is one of my favourite titles, and it's a shame that I don't want to torrent this game because it's not released in my country. I really don't.
It's a shame that they even have to consider neutering the game in any aspect to have it be released, but maybe we should talk about something a little lighter, a little happier.
Yeah, maybe. Or for my sanity.
Yeah,
Otherwise I'll end up choking
one
someone.
of the two. We'll figure it out
Yeah.
along the way. So a lot of people know the first Nintendo Direct of the year, or Nintendo Directs. There was one for just about every continent, and I guess we're gonna talk specifically about the North American one because that was most similar to the European and Australian one. So one of the things that was specifically announced in the North American and I think European Nintendo Direct was the new 3DS. which Australia already has, if I'm not mistaken.
So does Europe, actually. It's already
Oh,
out in
it
the
does?
UK.
Okay, then I was mistaken on the Europe part. I'm actually kind of surprised that they've been releasing it the way they have.
It's very backwards this time. Strange. Like, we usually get games, like, 4 years later, after they've been resubmitted for classification 5 fucking times. Sorry.
Well, no,
But, like,
the
yeah.
way they release Nintendo releases stuff doesn't make any sense. Like Super Smash Bros. For the 3DS, Japan got it way before anyone else, and then Europe and Australia got it, and then North America got it about a week or two later. And then it was the exact opposite for the Wii U version of Smash, where North America got it, then it was Europe and Australia, and then Japan got it last. I don't understand their thought process on it, but I'm not going to question it.
I mean, it could just be something based on like targets and statistics, because if they see that it's getting more pre-orders or more hype over in one region, then I imagine they'd probably want to release it over there first.
And so they announced the new 3DS XL. They did not announce the new 3DS in North America. I don't think, and in fact, they said, I think they said specifically that only the XL version would be there. So if you wanted faceplates, you're not going to get those.
Which is a blow.
It kind of is. You know, I mean, I'm someone who prefers the XL, so I'm not that hurt by it, but I still thought they were cool, and I thought the XL version should have actually came with those too. But what do you guys think about the new 3DS, if anything, compared to the old 3DS?
Well, as someone who's, like, not touched his 3DS in a long time, to the point in which it's gathered so much dust, I think it's almost its own sentient being. Like, it's at the point now where it's actually, like, developing life itself, which is pretty disturbing. So I jumped to the Vita for a long time, and I'll be honest, I'm kind of considering getting one and getting back into it. Like, I really, really am. Because, like, there's a lot of games that I have been crossing my fingers for and hoping come out on the Vita. And don't get me wrong, the Vita has some amazing titles. I'd say it has on par with the same number of titles as the 3DS, but those Nintendo exclusives are fucking amazing. And I'm really considering getting it for Xenoblade. That's really cool.
Yeah, me too. And I know for North America, GameStop, which I hate GameStop, but at the same time, I might take them up on this deal. If you trade in your 3DS, they'll give you $100 off the new 3DS.
That's good. Jesus.
Yeah, that's really good. The only thing I'm concerned about is data transfer. Hopefully they'll do it.
Oh, yeah. That'll be a pain.
Another thing that was not really announced, but was given a release date, a surprisingly close one, was Majora's Mask 3D. Which, they also showed off what it would be like if you used the new 3DS, which the C-Stick controlled the camera, which looked really nice and smooth. They also announced a Majora's Mask bundle that came with that kind of 3DS with a mask on it and stuff, which I'm going to get. But, Moosh, you're the biggest fan of Majora's Mask out of the three of us. So yeah. I just got to ask, what do you think about what they've been showing off with the new game?
Well, I'll be totally honest. Majora's Mask's a game that I would never... If people say, oh, I need to play a Zelda game, I want to get into Zelda, what should I play? It's the one game I never recommend to anyone, because it's not like anything else. Which is probably the reason why I like it so much, because it breaks away from the fucking standard formula so much. And from what I've been seeing and what they've been showcasing, I'm really fucking excited. And it's weird, because like Majora's Mask came out pretty much a year after Ocarina of Time. It was very close, whereas this time, like, they've taken... Obviously, it'll be using the same assets that they had in Ocarina of Time, the 3DS version, but because they've taken so much time in developing the game itself, I'm going to wonder if they're going to actually add more content there, because Majora's Mask's a rather small world compared to something like Ocarina of Time. I hope they don't, but I'm wondering what sort of new interactions we'll see, if they'll do something like a Wii U version of the Wind Waker, if we're going to get something along those lines with a little bit of extra content.
I heard a rumor about... and maybe it was confirmed, I'm not going to check, of feather statues being a thing, which, not owl statues, but feather statues is like something you carry with you to let you save the game also. I don't necessarily know how it would work, because owl statues are confirmed to be a thing. Tingle is supposed to be back, so they're going to do... Which is always good. Yeah.
He was also confirmed for Hyrule Warriors.
Yes,
and
he was.
I really... like, He's one of my favourite characters in Zelda. Like, he's a beautiful, camp-as-fuck fairy bloke that prances around in pyjamas, and being able to kill thousands of moblins as him is going to be an absolute fucking joy of mine. But it'll be good to see the return of them.
I've actually seen, because some people have got the game early and they apparently had permission to leak some of the footage online. So I've seen a little bit, like it was like someone going fishing, but the HUD, the lower part of the HUD, like they did with Ocarina of Time, is updated for Majora's Mask and looks really nice and really smooth. Instead of a gear, items, and map buttons on the bottom, it's masks, map, and items, and then gears off to the side. So,
have there been any? I remember when Ocarina of Time came out, there was a little bit of controversy around the things that had changed, making it very hand-holding compared to the previous game. Like, you had those statues that would like literally tell you how to do everything, compared to the wonder and mystery that you'd have with the original.
Nintendo with remakes are kind of strange. Like, they'll keep, like, with Ocarina of Time, they kept in the glitches and stuff, but they added in like those helper statues, which doesn't make sense to do both.
No, I totally agree. Like, being that in depth with making it identical. But look, we'll keep moving on because there's a lot of stuff announced in that Nintendo Direct.
Monster Hunter, which they showed off some more Monster Hunter, which they, I'm not the biggest Monster Hunter fan, but I'm considering getting Monster Hunter 4 if I get the new 3DS. Because they've
I fucking adore Monster Hunter.
I would
it's
want
a game. I wouldn't
more.
say it's a game. I'd say it overtakes your life. Like, seriously, you'll be grinding it out for fucking months to the point in which you're like, God almighty, this commute is so fucking long, and you realise you've not got off the bus in like 2 years.
Yeah, no, and they've been showing off such cool things with it too, like Samus Aran, and I think, is it just her Zero Suit, or is it both versions of her? Both in her power armor and in her Zero Suit?
Regarding what?
That you can play as her for Monster Hunter 4.
Oh yeah, I've heard there's a load of different costumes announced and stuff. There's also like a Sonic costume announced.
That's for like your companions.
Bizarre. Yeah,
it's really creepy.
It looks bizarre.
It really does. And then there's a Mario and Luigi one too. But it's literally one of the characters that you can apparently play as is Samus. It's her specifically.
Talking about all these extra characters and stuff and moving it on quickly enough, Nintendo have also announced a new line of Amiibos, which is continuing my worry that the Amiibo is this big cash grab by Nintendo. I really don't like the fucking idea of them. Like,
you and
really
I differ on
don't
this,
like the idea.
And maybe, I'll one day admit that I was wrong or vice versa. Because
when you have no money in your account and you have a lot of plastic figures on your wall and you're crying in debt and you're like, why? That's when I will laugh at you. Okay. It's worthless. It's a worthless plastic toy that's overpriced so that you can get some DLC that they could charge for normally.
When they did Hyrule Warriors for the Twilight Princess update, if you had the Link Amiibo, you could get the spinner weapon instantly instead of having...
Which is great, isn't it?
Yes,
it's nice to...
And here's why I think that's...
No, I'm taking the piss.
Oh, okay.
Like, that's a really
here's why
bad
I think that's really good. Like, they're, when I was, I have little cousins and stuff. And when I was younger too, I couldn't get DLC. I didn't have a credit card. I didn't have a debit card. So how if a parent's willing to get someone a action figure or one of these, but not willing to buy DLC because they don't like the concept of it, or they think it's kind of shady, or they don't want their credit card info there, then the kid who is playing like Hyrule Warriors can still get a little bit of it, or can still get something like that. When it comes to Mario Party or Smash Brothers, I'm a bit more in your camp where I don't like how they did it.
Yeah, the Smash Brothers thing's the most disgusting thing ever, because it should have been just an extra mode of train your computer, and then that's it. They didn't have to have this thing.
Well, I think
I
think it could have been better with Amiibo though.
You can totally agree on that point. It's fine, but I disagree with you wholeheartedly on the point of the idea that it's great for kids because the parents don't want to buy DLC for them. Like, when I was a kid, we used to get free DLC. It was called patches. Right? Shit like that is good.
Yeah, no, and
now,
I think
no,
we're in a very
DLC let me finish my point, please, and tell me why your point's bullshit. But from my opinion, anyway. But the fact that they're gating off content for people that have this little Amiibo or make it easy, that's when you get to the whole pay to win sort of realm of shit. And the fact that I don't have the Link Amiibo, therefore I cannot get the spinner until X amount of time I've allotted in the game, that's a bad practice, mate. That's making an unlevel playing field for all players. And it's getting to the point now in which, they're making this a collectible thing. People are going to keep buying them, and God knows the potential of how easily they can corrupt this sort of thing. We've already seen it in the new Mario Party. that you can use these amiibos as like figures to run
It has
around
a
the course,
specific- it has
and
a
it's your own
specific
specific
game mode.
course. It's a
It's-
specific game mode only if you have an amiibo.
Yeah, no, and
So you
and,
can't
like,
access
that's
that
what
specific game mode unless you have an amiibo.
and I said that's
So you have
bullshit.
to spend $20
Well,
on an amiibo to actually use it. It's
let me
bollocks.
say,
It just showcases how bad it is.
Let me reply. I think that's entirely bullshit. And here's what I honestly think is that, you know, when it came to Smash Brothers and when it comes to Mario Party, they should give the option to have that amiibo styled thing. You know, and they can still call it amiibo for all I care. But, you know, if you have an amiibo, you can save it. That's the thing. Like, you can save it to the NFC chip. So, like, I have a Peach amiibo because I wanted to try it out for Smash. You know, if I went to a friend's house who has Smash, it would be the exact same stats, you know, and then I could use that amiibo there.
Yeah.
And
Getting back to my point, though, that I'm making, the Wii U has an SD card. You can insert an SD card and transfer your save back between one and the other. The fact that you have to pay $20 per character to do this little thing is bollocks. I don't care what way you try and sugarcoat it, that's bollocks. That's really bad, mate. It's a terrible practice, and it's one that I wouldn't want them to encourage. Or wouldn't want other developers to consider doing as well, because it's ripping off consumers.
Well, you know, this is already following the Disney Infinity and the Skylanders thing, so it's already becoming a trend. You know, I would prefer if it's going to be a trend that it be an optional trend, you know, and not be you can't look at a game that, you know, requires this because you don't have the time.
But at the same time, that game has optional features that you can only access if you pay $20 for that thing.
Yeah, and
therefore, it's still gating content away.
As I said, I think that's bullshit. Like, you know, there's no argument between us at that point because I think that's also bullshit. Like, before you even went on a tangent about Mario Party, I said the thing they're doing with Mario Party is bullshit.
Okay, so coming from someone who doesn't have a Nintendo console and therefore will never get an Amiibo and is just looking kind of passively at everything, it's probably going to turn into another peripheral war. Because you were mentioning that Skylanders and Disney Infinity is doing the same thing. That's definitely not a good thing because then they're going to compete on trying to make these things bigger and bigger and bigger. And it's going to be a point where either A, you can't play a game without the Amiibo, or B, meaningful content is cut off unless you pay the $12 or $20 or however much it is for Amiibos. And the thing is, it's not about if it's going to happen, it's about when. Because we're talking about companies that... We're talking about companies that are completely business focused. Even if we want to say that Nintendo isn't, they are. And they are going to take this further and further and further until they drain all available money out of it and people stop buying them. So that's kind of the issue that we're having here. Not to mention the collectible aspect that Moosh was mentioning as well. There's going to be a point where there's some kind of meaningful content that you can't get because that particular Amiibo costs $200 on the market to get now because they don't sell them regularly anymore.
Well, you know, with it, and they actually said this with the Marth Amiibo, which right now you cannot find anywhere because it's completely sold out. They're working on making a new batch of them, basically.
And what happens when they stop doing that?
Well, it's what I imagine will happen. It's going to be a different looking Marth. It's going to be slightly different, or maybe.
But that's not my point.
Yeah,
what happens when they stop?
We already have. This is the thing as well, that we already have 2 versions of Mario Amiibo now out. We'll also have 2 versions of Luigi. We'll have 2 versions of Wario. We'll have 2 versions of different Mario characters. We've got ones for the Nintendo franchise and the Smash Bros. Franchise and the Mario Party franchise that are coming to the forefront. So, what's the difference between the Mario one that I have for Smash Brothers that I was given for free because GameStop fucked up my order and didn't give me the GameCube adapter? Therefore, I got that thankfully thrown in with it.
They've said there's no difference between the Mario Amiibos. In fact, Rosalina and Luma Amiibo will work in Mario Party.
For now, though. And that's the thing that I'm worried with. Like, it's such an easy thing to corrupt and really piss off your user base. And it's something that I will never be in favor of, this idea of the Amiibo, because it's so fucking vile. $20 DLC for cosmetic shit? Like for stuff in Mario Kart? That's bullshit. You know it's bullshit. Now look, we've talked about consoles forever, right? Let's talk about PC. Now, one of the things that's always thrown around is the idea of the Master Race, which has come under quite a bit of scrutiny at the moment. What are you guys' opinion on the term PC master race?
It is important to everything that is PC gaming, just because it's a joke, and it's not like anybody seriously thinks of themselves as some kind of like master race or anything like that. It's more of just like, we're people that we spent the money to build our own PCs. We spent all this time on crafting a video gaming experience that is entirely personal to us, while everybody else goes out and just buys pre-built consoles. And it's like, because we put all this time into it, there is a sense of elitism in it that, you know, we think that we're better when really we don't. It's more just like a joke in itself. But it started out as a joke, it continues to be a joke, and people don't use it seriously.
You know, I would say speak for yourself, because Heil Gaben, you know? And...
Jesus.
But the thing being is, you know, and I said this last podcast, I recently built my own PC. I was a console gamer. I fucking was not interested in anything except the Wii U this generation, but the Wii U is, you know, with Nintendo, they're not going to get any third party, and there are a lot of third party things that I wanted. So I just decided to build my own PC and be happy with it as my own thing. I've noticed considerably the communities, even on games that usually have shitty communities, are better than the console communities. And I'm not trying to bash anyone who's a console gamer. I'm just speaking on my own experience, you know. And I haven't played Call of Duty on Steam or anything. But I have played, you know, Counter-Strike and more competitive style games. And I've yet to meet anyone who is anything but in, you know, a joking mood or in a decent mood. You know, no one's. I remember last time I played Halo Reach. It was me, a friend, and this stranger, and it was like this catch. It was like this catch the ball type thing. I don't really remember what it was called. But
Chris
you
will
know,
probably tell you because he's a massive Halo faggot.
Yeah, it was like someone had to carry a ball, and you gain points that way.
Oddball.
And so oddball. That's what it was. Yeah. So me and my friend, we were telling the guy, you know, grab it, and he wouldn't do it, and you know, like, so we tried to do it, and we kept dying because he wasn't doing really anything worth his time, and then we lost, and immediately he starts bitching out both of us to no end, blaming both of us, saying we lost the game because, like, he lost the game because of us.
So I think the message here is that Kenton has never played League of Legends.
Yes.
No, I have played League of Legends.
Or Team Fortress.
Or Team Fortress.
Team Fortress 2 is very bad for that.
I've played Team Fortress, but at the same time, I find Team Fortress kind of dull, so I don't play it that often. But the times I have played Team Fortress 2, you know, I have not really met that many awful people. I'm not saying it's a perfect, like, PC community is perfect. I'm not saying that by any means. I'm saying, in compared to consoles, it's a shit ton better. And I don't know why that is, but it's a weird.
I'll be honest. I do think it depends on the game that you're playing.
Partly,
like one of the things. Well, my favorite experience with console gaming, and especially with online console gaming, was when I had my first Xbox, the original fucking gigantic black breeze block, and I used to go online playing Chaos Theory. I love asymmetrical multiplayer, and it was an absolute joy to play with other people. It was absolutely fascinating. And like, I genuinely made some good friends over there. You know, and we had a good laugh. I'd play it daily. It was just so interesting and into it. Then when everything moved to the 360, and they shut down the servers of them, I still had a gold account for a while. So I thought, all right, I'll try out Halo. Whew. Yeah, like it depends on the game that you're playing, really. In terms for both sides, like when you play League of Legends or Dota, obviously we're not going to generalize the both communities and stuff like that, but Jesus Christ, you know, like some of the shit that's posted during matches of there are insane. And apparently my mum's a slut because she's fucked everyone, according to when everyone, you know, sends me a message and shit. But that's the thing, like for me, I like the idea of PC gaming because servers run longer. Like I can still play Chaos Theory, whereas I can't do that anymore on consoles.
Oh, that's definitely
that's
true.
The beauty for me.
Yeah, well, because like for instance, Counter-Strike 1.6 still has servers. You can still play it to this day. It came out 15 years ago. 15 years, and you can still play it online, and that blows my mind. Whereas Halo 2 came out in 2004, so about 11 years ago. The only way you can play that online is if you use special like connection software and all this other stuff to funnel it through a custom network. You can't play it on Xbox Live anymore.
It's crazy, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's a shame, I think. It's one of the big things for me that I'm going to be very interested in with this generation. One of the things I read recently was more developers are they're actually developing first-party stuff for the consoles, PS4 and Xbox One, than they are directly for the PC. And that's one of the big things in terms of independent developers and stuff. But obviously they're still going to be released on PC. Now, one of the things that I'm interested for this generation, how long a shelf life do the PS4 and the Xbox One have? They said they're going to be around for 10 years. They've been out for 2 years now? So we've got another 8 years of these things still being on the market. Right now, because of the hardware of those consoles, they are struggling to play games like Assassin's Creed Unity. Although, to be honest, you could be running that on the monolith from 2001: A Space Odyssey and still fail to play because of how poorly optimized it is. I had to bash Ubisoft in one episode, I'm sorry. But they can barely run it at 720p or 900p, some ridiculous sort of resolution. Whereas PC, you can play it at 1080p. Now, I can play games in 4K. I've got a 4K monitor, and the price of 4K TVs are plummeting rapidly. Now, it's going to be very interesting this generation because we've got the release of the whole Steam machine, Steam box, sort of personal computer consoles that are going to be released by lots of third-party hardware monitors using Steam OS that are then going to be on the market, but they'll be capable of running gaming in 4K. On a lot of the 4K TVs. Now, if 4K TVs become the norm, before the end of this 10-year shelf life, consoles are going to be kind of fucked in terms of, how drastically diverse the quality is between PC and consoles. And it's a bit worrying.
It's not only just that, because I own both consoles and I have my PC that I just built a new one here in December. And despite having the two consoles, the reason why I went over to getting the PC and whatnot was because when you look at the diversity between games quality already and games variants on the PC versus on console, there's a huge disconnect there. Because when I look at the PS4 or the Xbox One, all the things that are big sellers for it are things like Call of Duty, Assassin's Creed, basically all types of games that we've seen before or we've played before. It's a lot of franchise type stuff and whatnot. There's not a whole lot of originality there anymore. And while I still have the consoles because I do enjoy Black Flag, and despite the fact that I can get it on PC, I just like playing it on console better for some reason. And I like Halo and I like Uncharted and all that other stuff. The real experiences that I've found that are just incredible are on PC. Because the version of Skyrim that I play on PC is not Skyrim, and I can't play that on the console because there's no way.
I was about to bitch you out there.
Well, because the version of Skyrim that I have has 150 mods running on it. It literally plays nothing like the original, and that experience itself is already more diverse than any other game that I've played on console so far.
Mm.
Well, I want to shift us back away from the tangent that I realize we have been on. People have been saying the term PC Master Race is offensive because it's akin to saying you are the master race, like how Nazis thought of the Aryan race as the master race. What is your response to people like that? And before you answer, I'm going to say NeoGAF has banned the term PC Master Race.
They've banned the term PC
Apparently,
Master Race? Why?
Why? I don't know. It's that offensive, I guess.
So I'm just going to say it's going to be very difficult for me to formulate a legitimate response because I'm German, and therefore anything I say is already fucked. So
full disclosure, as per our ethics policy, Chris has Nazi gold under his bed.
Yeah, no, it's in my
totally
secret,
fucking kidding them,
It's
mate.
in
Totally
my secret
kidding.
Nazi mansion in Argentina. See, what happened was...
But no, right. It's one of the things that obviously, if people are offended but at the fact that the term PC Master Race can be likened to Nazis, then PC gamers are the literal boogeymen that you can shoot in. I can probably list, if I was pushed on it, 20 games. But I'll just settle on Call of Duty World at War, in which they are undead zombies. Like, it's such a boring throwaway enemy these days. Like, the whole context behind them, in a gaming sphere anyway, it's pretty much completely died. And being offended by that, and not being offended by the fact that you can shoot them in 1001 games, or you can play as them in Blitzkrieg, it's retarded. That logic is that would probably piss them off. The fact that I'm saying retarded, but you are retarded by saying that.
I did find a post, and I won't say the name of it because I'm not. But it was referring to a YouTube video and said that there was an ableist slur and the word was idiot, and they spelled idiot IDI*T. So I'm not surprised people are upset over PC Master Race because we're in a very offended culture at the moment.
I fucking hate this. I really shouldn't say this because then it allows a lot of people to sort of like jump up in arms and throw pitchforks at us, which is interesting because they get offended by everything and they can be offended by my offense. But I'm fucking offended by this whole PC police bullshit that we have nowadays for some reason. Like, I'm a kid born in the 90s, we had wrestlers that would punch each other and their faces would explode with blood. And you're like, holy shit, I'm never going to punch anyone because their faces explode. And the first time I was in a fight, I was like, oh, so their faces don't explode with blood. This is interesting. They lied to me. Like, it's like the MTV generation and stuff. Everything was extreme. Everything was wrapped in barbed wire, bleeding and sweating and pushed out into the street with its, full of its own cum. Everything was so extreme and in your face. And that was great. That was great. Like, look at Penn and Teller. I fucking love the shit that they used to do. Like, they were shock magicians. We had, everything was shock. We had Mortal Kombat, games where you're ripping dudes' faces off. Like, shit like that was glorious. It was a time of, like, holy shit, how far can this go? And then it all had to get fucked up by this knee-jerk reaction. It's a shame.
Who the hell cares? People call, say, the PC mustard race, if they're a console gamer and think PC gaming is retarded. If they think it's stupid, they don't see the point of it, and I think that's perfectly fine. If you're a console gamer, I like the Wii U. I eventually am probably going to get a PlayStation. If not for the exclusives, or maybe an Xbox One for the exclusives. I'm still weighing my options there, and I don't think there's anything wrong with preferring a console over a PC you build yourself. Because trust me, I understand, and it was not easy building my first PC, especially the way I had to build it.
That said, and let's be honest, people that say a console will offer you a better gaming experience haven't played a PC game.
No,
especially in modern day. That's the difference.
No, that said, Heil Gaben. That's what you should have said.
So I will say though, like, just kind of the final thing on the PC Master Race thing is that it is entirely satire. That is exactly what it is.
Yeah,
and
completely. So
what I don't understand is the people that don't seem to get that when you become outraged over something that is satire, which is something that's supposed to diminish, it's supposed to kind of lower the impact of something. And when you become offended by that, then you're just raising the impact of something again. If you get offended by PC Master Race, you're giving power back to the Nazis, essentially, because you're basically saying, "Oh, well, we No, I'm being completely
No, I know you're being serious.
That when you become offended by it, then their legacy, the legacy that they built all those years ago doing those horrible things, continues on instead of us being able to make a joke about it. And that is the point of humor, is to go ahead and remove that horrible shit from context and make it funny so that people can laugh at it and people can talk about how absurd it is. And that is what kind of the power behind the PC Master Race, in my opinion, because it's just an entire joke on the concept, and being offended by it doesn't do anything. It doesn't fix anything.
Yeah, completely.
Yeah, exactly. And speaking of PC gaming, if you have been looking forward for GTA 5 for the PC, don't hold your breath because it's not coming out this month, guys. It's coming out in March.
Son of a bitch.
I'm alright for that, to be honest. I'd rather them put it back instead of releasing it way too early. I mean, like, look what happened when Grand Theft Auto 5 was released on consoles. Totally fine, and they waited and postponed for Grand Theft Auto Online. So probably this is going to launch at the same time with GTA Online directly, and obviously they'll need different infrastructure and shit, because it's probably going to be working with Steamworks. And, you know, with that sort of stuff, that'll be good, because they've had a lot of problems with hacking and players raping players with traffic cones on top of their heads and stuff. So.
I am the only thing I'm honestly hoping for from GTA 5 is be able to get my character back from GTA Online. I know if you got like a PlayStation 4 and you had an Xbox 360, you could. They haven't said anything about PC.
Yeah, they actually did. According to their official website, if you get the PC game, you can import your character from any console. Which was why because I sold my copy of GTA 5 for the Xbox One the moment I read that. Like, I read it, and I'm just like, there's no point for me having the Xbox One copy. So I got my Xbox 360 and my Xbox One copy, put them on Craigslist, and sold them within a day. I was so happy.
Yeah, no, and here's why I really want it, is because I was playing with friends, and someone asked us, how much money you got? Just, you know, I'm like, oh, why does it matter? You know, 200,000 or something like that. And then next thing I notice is, you got $700 million. Crap. Like, that was during the Great Hacks. That's what I call them, because, you know,
the Great Hacking.
Yeah, no, like, just everything, like, and, you know, when I get my character back, everything that's probably there, I might get to keep, because when they only got the people who hacked it. Like, they didn't punish anyone else.
Oh, no, that is not true. That is not true, because I totally hacked the shit out of that game, got $65 million, and that shit is still in my bank account.
Oh, well, then I guess everyone's like, I have vehicles you can't get on online because I hacked it. Like, it hacked in quotations. They didn't realize if there's a way to type in the URL of the online, like if you go on the internet on your phone. And
well, to jump in on this really quickly, because you're talking about, you know, like the thing that you're really excited for the PC version is the ability to transfer your console characters over. That's all right, but as the most goose-stepping member of the master race, that's the wrong thing to look for and be excited about. For me, have you seen the mods and the modding scene for GTA 4? Ice Hancer is absolutely amazing. It's the full texture mapping mod and digital bloom effects and stuff that make the game photorealistic. And the people that work on that are absolutely mind-blowing. But you've also got mods where you can play as Iron Man, you can play as the Hulk, you can play as Superman. You can literally do whatever the fuck you want. And the modding scene for GTA 5, I'm both worried about and I'm also really excited for. I'm worried because obviously with the online interaction they're going to have, there might be a lot of limitations with that. But mind you, that said, they had a huge amount of hacking anyway within the actual, you know, console version. But that'll be great.
So I just want to put it out there that they confirmed that they're working on a version of Ice Enhancer for
yes, they did.
For GTA 5. I'm so excited.
Yeah, they did.
I want to see what they can do with that fucking game because it's already gorgeous as shit. And if they can make that game look better, I may never play a video game again, especially when I get my Oculus and I can play in first person mode. Oh my god.
Say goodbye to your social life.
Yeah. What
Yeah,
they will probably
pretty
do
much.
with mods is they'll look at them, you know, like for the graphical update ones, they probably won't change, but you know, for when the Iron Man one comes out, because that one's so popular, I would be surprised if it didn't come back for GTA 5. They'll find a way to either put it to specific servers or to keep it on offline mode. I'm sure that'll be what happens. You know, it wouldn't surprise me if that's what they did. You know, and I'm wondering how servers are going to work.
You can play Ice Enhancer online in GTA 4. Sorry, in GTA 4 without any need for you know, like there'll be multiple people having the same thing installed because it's all on your computer, so you're totally fine with that. But when it comes to like obviously different stuff, people have been able to have. Well, you can set up your own servers with PC. That's the beautiful thing. Like, I've seen people play where you've got multiple Iron Men flying around shooting people with lasers, which is great. You know, that's like that's the thing for me. Like, GTA's always been a sort of case of wish fulfillment. Maybe not as much as Saints Row, but you know, it's just a game in which you can, you know, work your way up the, you know, the underground like ladder, like your own little Tony Soprano, and you can have a blast doing it. And also, whenever you want, you can, you know, run down a bus queue if you fancy, you know. And like that's the thing for me that I'm really excited about. Like the fact that like the modding scene for GTA 4 is already so impressive. and they're all already, said that we're interested in going into GTA 5 the second we've got it available. I can't wait to see what comes of it.
I'm hoping Workshop will be involved. I think Chris mentioned that it would, just because it makes modding easier in terms of that.
We'll have to see because Workshop has its own potential drawbacks as well.
Yes,
it has a lot
does.
of potential drawbacks. A lot more.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's a give and take type thing, I guess. But with GTA 5, I honestly think mechanically speaking, it's my favorite in terms of for a very long time.
I'd say that.
The story is not that fantastic, and I won't go into it because PC players probably haven't touched it. But mechanically, it
Wait, did you just say the story for GTA 5 is not that fantastic? Were you paying attention to the story?
Have you heard Franklin talk?
Yes.
Yeah, Chris, I'll be totally honest here. Of all of the Grand Theft Autos, comparing GTA 5 to GTA 4, there is a big difference in quality of story. The difference, though, is Trevor is fantastically well written.
I like Trevor and I like Michael. It has some decent characters, but the story is boring. It's
garbage.
I like
it's
the characters like Trevor and Michael and some of the Trevor's cousin or whatever and his friends. I think they're kind of interesting. And Michael's family is kind of interesting as a parody. Franklin I find boring. I find his aunt to be hilarious, but that's.
But you need that character that has to work the way up to the top. That's the thing. You've got the unhinged crazy cunt. You've got Michael, the guy that the has been, and you got the has been, you got the never was, and you got the crazy cunt. That's all you need. And Franklin has to take the role of that. But the story itself is literally just, we're gonna make a lot of money and work together, and that's essentially the plot of the entire game.
No, it's not. Oh my god.
Okay, you can say that, but look, I'm just generalizing here. Compare that to Grand Theft Auto 4, which is all about the pursuit of the American dream, and it's incredibly well realized. And you playing as an immigrant and seeing it from the eyes of him, and he's I thought I'd be getting out of the old country. I thought I'd be getting out of the conflict of there, and now I'm here, and it's just as bad everywhere in the world. That's great.
No, and I understand that. I'm saying GTA 4 has an incredible story as well. I'm not saying GTA 5's is better. All I'm saying is that GTA 5 has an incredible story as well. Not quite to the level that GTA 4 was.
There are parts of it, and it's more the missions that happen, like the farmhouse you set on fire. That is fun. That's really good. But I don't care about the story. It brought
the fun back to that franchise. It really brought the fun back.
Yes, it did.
Ballad of Gay Tony did. But the Ballad of Gay Tony really brought the fun back, because we had The Lost and the Damned, and we had GTA 4, which are very GTA 4 was serious. Lost and the Damned's very serious and very gritty, and then Ballad of Gay Tony's hilarious and really over the top, which is what the series should be about. But for me, it had Grand Theft Auto 5 even had a worse story than Vice City, which is kind of bad, because this is PS2 era. I don't know, Chris. Maybe I've just got higher standards. But look, Let's begin wrapping this all up, guys. So, what have we all been playing this week?
Well, I have been playing Metal Gear Solid Legacy Collection.
Oh.
Yeah. I've never played any Metal Gear game or Metal Gear Solid game ever, but I really wanted to. It's always been in the back of my head, but I never really had the PlayStation and been old enough to really, want to play it at the same time. So I when it comes to a series, I have to start from the beginning. So, the Legacy Collection is the perfect start. And I've been playing. I beat Metal Gear. I'm at the end of Metal Gear 2. So eventually, I'm gonna get to Metal Gear Solid 4 and then Ground Zeroes. So I'm loving it so far. It's a ridiculously fun series.
So this week I played the Stanley Parable for the first time, and I kind of fell in love with it, to be honest.
What did you think about it, honestly?
So
it's something I like asking everyone. Everyone's opinion on Stanley Parable is so weird.
I went into Stanley Parable without knowing anything about it. I had never watched a gameplay video, a trailer, anything. I never played the original mod, and I thought it was really, really well done, because it was an art game that didn't remove agency from the player, but did at the same time, because it made it feel like the game was toying with you, especially in the moment where there's a sequence. If you take, there's one path that you can take where it resets you, but everything's different, and every time you finish that playthrough, it resets you again, but things change still. and it gets to a point where the narrator gets so pissed off that he draws a line that you have to follow. And when you're following the line and everything, even then things get fucked up. And it's just so interesting how they did it and whatnot. I really, really enjoyed it. On top of that, I did a little bit of a nostalgia trip this week, and I played Fable: The Lost Chapters, and
nice.
Star Wars Republic Commando, which that was
even better.
That was the first game I ever played on my first self-built PC back in like 2005 or 2006. It was a really shitty dual-core Dell. I had taken my dad's Dell computer and I gutted it, and then I bought a bunch of parts and threw a new one together. And I bought Star Wars Republic Commando from Walmart because it was selling there for some reason. They used to have a PC games collection section, and it was really fun. It's still fun to this day, even though it has shown some of its age, just like Fable: The Lost Chapters has. And then finally, I started playing the 2010 Alien vs. Predator, since I'd never played it before, and it's not as bad as I thought it would be.
Really?
Yeah, it's not.
I really didn't like the 2010
it's
AVP
not,
by Rebellion.
They
it's
put it back
not
on
great. It's not great, but it's not bad, in my opinion. I think it's kind of mediocre, but it's fun in some way.
Well, it's the thing for me, though, like, it was all about the multiplayer with that game. And, like, it became to the point in which, like, you get behind someone, you've got these really impressive animations, and they look incredible. Don't get me wrong, the one player is fantastic. I'm not going to knock the one player in the slightest. But, like, when you've got, like, the alien, you're ripping the spine out, and you're showing the spine to the guy in front of you, and doing all this really cool shit. It looks amazing for you doing it. It looks amazing for the player receiving it. But in a multiplayer scenario, as this 5-second segment is playing out in a competitive multiplayer game, all that enables is someone to stand behind you and then press, like, hammer the F key, and the second that they can do an instant kill, they do. And then someone gets behind them, and it becoms a fucking conga line of death. It's so weird.
That actually,
for me,
that reminds me of the chainsaws from Gears of War, because they had chainsaw wars like that.
Yeah, literally, that's exactly the sort of thing that happened. But for me, I've been jumping around all the shit that I bought in the winter sales and stuff. I've been playing a lot of different things, a lot of indie titles, and a lot of early access stuff for a couple of features that I'm writing. 7 Days to Die I've been playing, it's very surprisingly good. I hate, and I'll be honest, I really don't like the whole sort of Minecraft survival-y thing, but I've had to do a bit of these recently. I'd also played Interstellar Marines, which I still don't know my opinion of it yet, because it's so... the content that's there is absolutely fantastic, but there's not enough content, and it's a bit of a problem. But the best game I've been playing recently is The Long Dark. I've really enjoyed playing that, to be honest. It's a Canadian holiday simulator, I think is the best way to describe it. You basically have to survive in the frozen wilderness.
I see it as a Ron Swanson simulator from Parks and Rec. Because the entire time I just imagine Ron Swanson going through and building everything with his hands. And killing everything with his bare hands.
That's the thing. That's the only problem that I have. Like, the entire game takes place in the wilderness. The only thing you really have to worry about is dying of hypothermia. You can, die of hunger, die of thirst. Also die from falling off stuff. But you can also be eaten by wolves and attacked by wolves. You need a Liam Neeson mode where you can run around punching wolves. Because I think that would improve the game considerably. Also bears.
I want
bears.
I want a Liam Neeson mode, but I also want a Nicolas Cage mode where there's people on bikes and you just threaten them and take their bike.
That'll be decent. But no, so that about wraps it up from all of us. So until next time, fuck off, basically.